Okay, welcome back everybody to today's coding session. And we are currently working on this Django application. It's a homework for the CS50 web course. And it's the last homework before the final project. So yeah, and we've already done the first part of it. I think also the second one. Yeah. And this is basically what we're up to. We're up to trying to implement the logic for the follow button. So right now, um, this is working, meaning the logic to um, see the logic for rendering the text inside of this button is already working. So let's take a look at how that looks. CD um, CS50 network project and Python manage Py shell from network.models import all, and user one is going, or current user equals user objects.get, where the ID is 2. We're on test 2 here, and requested user, make that user 1. And we'll go ahead and get the follow as well. And that's follow dot objects dot I think we're using filter here, right? Yeah. Objects dot filter, where the follower equals current user and the followed is the requested user. Try again. We have that follow object over there, so let's go ahead and delete it. Yeah, so we deleted that database entry for this relationship here. Let's go ahead and reload test one profile. And we see now the button says follow. So we have some logic in the back end to change what the button should display based on whether or not the user is following the requested user. And so now we're trying to implement the actual logic of basically what we just did manually. We want to be able to do that just by pushing the button here. Okay, so we have that open there. Okay. And I do believe that we set this up that if we go to test 2 here, we don't have a button. So this button only shows up for other users. Okay, so uh, um, so here we have the follow button logic, or um, yeah. So here's all the logic, and we have just in the return, um, we're returning based on whether or not we're following the user. Fine. Now the question becomes, how do we implement the fetch, um, or if that is even the correct thing to do? I think it is to be able to like on like. So let's take a look here. Um, so here, current user, requested user, that looks good. Yeah, yeah. In React, how do I make this reload after the user clicks? Okay, so this seems like a very general explanation of what we need to do. I think we're on the right track here. You stated and use effect hooks to manage state and side effects respectively. In your case, you can create a variable that changes when the button is clicked. So I think we already did that. Now I do, so we're passing a bunch of stuff here, so let me just take a look. So following equals following. So I believe that's the um, yeah, that's data.following. So that's just um, this here. Fine. We're passing over the user ID as well. The requested user ID. Fine. We're passing this unbutton reload function, and we're also following the set following. So the unbutton reload, handle button reload. Let's see, what does that do? Yeah, so that just sets button reload to its opposite. Um, and I guess that means the same thing as button click. So let's just see it the way it is. Um, doesn't really matter what we name it. And set following is this variable that or function that we're passing through, um, which is really allowing us to, once we create or delete um, the follow or unfollow, right? We're gonna return this, so this will allow us to update the value. So I do believe we have like this basically a use state in place, or not, or one second, a state. We have the state variable. Um, so basically, we have to add an onClick property here. OnClick is equal to, now the confusing thing here is that we are, um, yeah, so we're, the confusing thing here is that we're passing over the handle button reload um, function, but then we also need to pass the actual value of button reload. So that's what we're going to do here. On click, what do we do on click? We in React you can use the use state and use effect hooks. In your case, you can create a state variable that changes when the button is clicked. Okay, then use effect to listen for changes. That makes sense. Um, and perform the reload action when it changes. Here's the general idea. Create a state variable, say button clicked. Okay, unclick. So I really think that we don't have to. I'm wondering why are we passing this whole function here? This shouldn't be a property of this follow button. It should be an unclick. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be a prop. So let me see here. So handle button reload. Um, let me see where else I'm calling this. Yeah, I think this is incorrect code here. So um, we're going to, let me see here. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and um, hmm. If you want to reload the component with the button is clicked, you can use a similar approach. Okay, create save button, click and says the full same in your handles unsubscribe function. Total value of button clicked. Yes, before I start deleting things here, I think that before maybe this does need to be here because like we have different values for what the button, what the click should do, and it really depends on whether the user is there's a follow object or not. So, but we do want to have the functionality. We just want the button to reload when the person clicks. Shout out to Sanoop Samson and VRPGFX, also to Al WA3E. Seems like you're trying to toggle between a follow and an unfollow button based on the following prop. If you want to reload the component when the load button is clicked, you can use a similar approach. Okay. We'll create a state variable. Yeah, so basically we need different constants here, variables to keep track of um like to keep track of when we should reload the actual button to check what should be printed inside of it, as well as we need to keep track of whether or not the user has been clicking on the actual button. So let's just do that. Let's do a const of, and this, I want to consolidate those two into one, but let's just do it this way for now and see how it goes. Um, so then in your handle unsubscribe function, let's see, button clicked, button clicked, and that'll be a use state of false. Okay. And we need a const of handle button clicked, and that will be a set button clicked of its opposite. So that would be button. Okay, so that's that. And then your button on click handler. Yeah, so now in the button, on click is going to equal this handle button clicked. Okay, and now we have to use effect to listen for changes when we click, um, and call your handle button reload function when it changes. So basically, I do believe that this is a little bit misleading here. This should be called handle button type. So again, we have two types of button. One button says unsubscribe, the other one says subscribe. So I'm gonna change this just for the sake of clarity. So this should be type here. And again, we can name this whatever we want, but I just think that handle like button type is more accurate to what we're trying to do. So that would be type and button type, and let me yeah, so just go up here. Yeah, so button reload is update button type, we're gonna call it. So everything that was button reload, we're gonna rename that up there. That'll be the opposite of button type. And this is like a lot of work, so maybe try next time a little bit better to declare my variables early on with the correct name. That way I don't have to go back in there and change it. Props dot on button reload. Let me see. Update button type. So that would be props update button type. Okay. Update button type is this one, handle button type. Okay, so I think now we have the correct intention here. So update button type, handle button type, set following. Okay, fine. We have a lot of detail, and then the onclick handle button clicked, and our handle button clicked will change the value of this variable, toggle between true or false. And so when this variable changes, I want to keep track of that, and then I want to run some code once I detect that variable has changed. Again, that variable will only change when someone clicks. So if we detect a change, it means we detect a click. Um, so I'm gonna write that up here. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I'm just gonna start function. And then we said that we want to use a use state. Um, sorry, use effect. Let me see here. I'm just gonna copy paste from some code we wrote here before. Yeah, this one, the use effect, because this one has a nice dependency here. And all this is saying is that this function basically is linked to a change in that variable. So that's what we're gonna do. This function, this use effect here is linked to a change in variable. Now the question is, do I need to declare that inside of the button? That's my only question here. In the post feed. So yeah, I do believe that has to be declared inside of the actual button. So let's do that. And it makes sense because that's where we're passing our props, and like the variable that we're trying to keep track of is being passed inside of this props array. So, okay. Actually, I don't know if it's called an array, but data.following, it's like an array. Okay. And now we are using this use. So we have a handle subscribe and a handle unsubscribe. And I think we can just call those from inside. Um, just because I'm used to Python, I'm going to declare that even further down. So my use effect, unsubscribe, subscribe. Yeah, so over here I want to declare all the stuff. And then in our use state down here, or sorry, our use effect, um, so I do believe that the use effect makes the whole function that it lives in, um, yeah, reload. So if the use effect is is declared inside a parent function, will it reload the parent function as well? So here, sure, here's a simple example using use state and use effect and React component. Okay. Um, is a use effect that will reload with count. And every time we click, we are going to set the set count to a little bit higher, to one more. Um, so I'm guessing this all. The only reason I'm getting a little confused here is because that means that our return statement here basically would check the conditional, right? Because we have this if props dot following true or not, um, and so when we run this use effect here and we update that, um, so I really hope that it works out. Let's see. Okay, so let's just try it and hope for the best, and then try to understand why it works later. Um, so I feel like I have a ton of code here, and it's very hard at this point to use the AI to debug, just because um, there's a limit, mainly because there's a limit into how much code you could put in there. Um, so use effect. Yeah, so this is what's a little bit confusing. Let's see if we could read out loud here. So the use effect hook itself doesn't cause the component to re-render. Instead, it runs after the render is committed to the screen. However, if during the execution of the use effect function you update a state variable using a function like setCount from useState, that state change will cause the component to re-render. So in a way, you can think of it as a use effect allows you to schedule code to run after the render, and if that code changes state, then the new render will be scheduled, but it's a state change, not the use effect itself. I'm not understanding at all, but I'm just assuming that this is like just how JavaScript works, um, where we're dynamically rendering this into the screen. And so this count, um, if we change the value of that, then um, it'll just re-render on the screen because that's how JavaScript works. That's sort of like the most simple explanation I could give myself. Sure, there's a better way to understand it, but I think it's enough for now to be able to move forward. So yeah, the logic is that very similar to how they did it here, right? Um, we have this button on the screen. If we push it, we want to update a variable. That's what we're going to do first. And I do think we already did that. So on click, handle button clicked. Our handle button clicked function, all it does is change, update the button clicked constant to the opposite of what it currently is. And then what we could do now is we could have this use effect. What this use effect takes in as a dependency, okay, it's this variable. The variable is called button type. And we are passing that in there. Again, so again, we have this button here, right? So when we click it, what we do is we call this function which sets the value of button type to its opposite. Now, I'm not seeing anywhere here that we are adding that as a dependency, so maybe that's the next step here. Um, and the only reason why we need that is so we could plug it in over there. So let's pass it our button type. So our button type is going to equal the button type variable, which is here. And now whenever this changes, we have to we're going to add that as a dependency for this use effect thing here. Now I'm going to delete actually all the code that's in there because I want to I've already written this out there. So I want to have um, a fresh code here. So let's just take a look yet again. Um, so yeah, we have this file button on click, and then our button type is our button type. So when we click, we change this variable button type, and that is being detected by this use effect here. We're adding that button type as a dependency. Now in here, I want to run some logic. So okay, so the person clicked. So what? So with this logic so far, all we are detecting is the click, the physical click, but we're not detecting what we need to do with that click. So I do want to have a variable here, or a conditional rather. So if It's going to look very similar to the one below. If props dot and we have a property that we're using to keep track of whether the user follows or not. So if props dot following, okay, equals true, or let's say false, well, that means that the click means that the user wants to subscribe. So we want to run our handle subscribe function. Else, we want to run our handle unsubscribe function. Okay. Now, I don't know that it's a question whether or not I have to to pass that in there as into the function. It's I don't know. Um, let me see. Is this code correct? Okay, so it looks like it's okay because it's inside, maybe because it's inside of the other one of the parent here, and the parent is receiving all the props. So I want to just double check here that everything is looking good. So let's say a subscribe, we want to fetch um into follow. So our subscribe, we want to fetch into follow, right? I think that's what we said here. Yeah, follow, and with the user ID, props dot user UID, which we are passing over. Let me see. Yeah, over here, user UID. Okay, and um, your let's see again here. So follow and follow. So we have yeah, so here body would just be an empty string. And so it's a post request into follow da 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 da. Yeah, so our method is post. We're not submitting anything really. Then we're going to receive a response. That response, we're going to handle it here. So similar to this. So I don't think we need this update button type anymore. Okay, which means we don't need that variable at all. Um, Now we do want to change the value of whether the person's following or not. Um, and so that's what we're going to do with the data here. And if we get an error, we want to alert that error. And that's it. And then our use effect is doing that. Yeah, so I don't think we need this button type here. Let's look into it. Like we're not really using it anywhere above this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and delete it. This button type. Or let's try again here. Yeah, so that's the intuition that I had from before, basically. That this button clicked and this button type is the same thing. So I'm just gonna delete. I'm just gonna delete the button type for now because I don't need that. The only place I'm actually using it or calling it is in the dependency here for use effect. But I could also use the other one, the click one, the button clicked, and I think that's correct. So let's go ahead and delete these. I don't really need them. And let's find where else. Yeah, so you see on click, button type, and we're not, button clicked would be more appropriate. Button clicked here. And so that's an unclicked and button clicked is that, and then update button type, handle button, all, yeah, we don't need any of that stuff. So let's see where else. Yeah, so props.button type now became button clicked. And let's just keep it like that. Yeah, that's what goes here. And this is, I think, is correct now. Um, so we have our post. Okay, we have all the stuff. But going into our follow button, we have our what to do when we click. Then we're also passing in the value of that and whether or not the user is a follower. And we also need to pass the user ID for some reason that I can't remember right now. We also need to pass the function to change whether there is a following or not. So I think that seems about right. So this following, again, we have it, where is it? Not the following, sorry, the button clicked. We need to have that as a dependency for the use effect here. So that's where that is, button clicked. Again, if we're gonna click the button, our logic is going to check whether or not we are following. So we follow. If we're not, then it's going to call the handle subscribe function. Otherwise, we'll call the unsubscribe function. So um, I feel like this is good because it's actually using the server data to call the function. It's not relying so much on the local variable in the front end. It's using it. It's really just um, whatever value really is here. That's what's going to use. And that seems to me that seems to be a theme in at least in the chorus, where yeah, you want to use as much React as you can, but that you should really focus on um, thinking about data integrity and try to run as most of, like, if you're going to do something as drastic as pushing a button and causing something to happen, then you should be running those checks in the server, not necessarily in the front end, because it's very easy to hack the front end in some cases, or it could cause a lot of bugs. So again, that's what we have here. So I'm just going to read over all of this one more time and maybe try running it. So we have our, um, let's see here. So that's our use effect. It's going to fetch. No. Handle subscribe is that. Okay, looks good. Let's try it. So if we go on test one here, nothing happens. Let's try again. Let's see the console here. Okay, so the prevent default we have to get rid of, and we spoke about this last time. It looks, I believe that this is something that you need to have for form submissions, maybe not so much for what we're trying to do now, which is not, it's technically not a form. So that's why we're getting rid of it for now. Okay. And let's try again. Now we did get some type of error here, which I'm not sure why. Yeah, so it looks like we're just we're just calling this here. It looks like I see that my um yeah, I can see here that it looks like I'm just creating the follow here. So why is it running like that, like by default? Um, I guess the principle here is okay, but for some reason, you see when we reload, we're actually running the follow logic in the server. So there seems to be an issue here. Let's see why that is happening. Um, Handle subscribe. Props. Hmm. So I think we have an issue here with the use effect. So let's see what exactly we are returning here when we do this. Um, but we'd have to do it in a post request. Here's a wacky idea. Let's see if it works. Just to put this use effect below the return. I wonder if that's even correct. Eight. Let's see. Yeah, I guess this is a better way of doing this. Instead of rendering it down here, we take a few steps back. I don't like any of this code. So let me just take a couple, start over again. So all of this use effect, we'll get rid of it. We'll get rid of this button clicked as well. Um, okay, and fine. So we have handle unsubscribe and handle subscribe. I think that we're able to do that just right here. Um, let's see. Hmm, let's see. So we should be returning there. There's maybe an issue with the return here following JSON response. So um, yeah, so maybe, just maybe, it's like this. No, 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 no. 1 second. Let's change this for a minute. Yeah, let's change it for a minute and try and see what we are returning over there. And so we have our this, and we want to unfollow user one. We want to unfollow user one. Okay, so filter, filter, filter. Yeah, okay. So let's try to follow user one. Yeah, so it returns following true. And we can really confirm that here. You see, we have one object. So if we do that again, we have nothing now. And if I reload this, you'll see the object is back over there. So, okay, so that is working, I would say. And if we go over here, no, yeah, so we're not following in. I mean, we deleted the follow object here, so it should be good. So if we push here, click on follow, let's see. Maybe the return should be inside of the use effect. Let me see. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So constant handle unsubscribe. The event is in there. Let's try to subscribe so it's follow. So let's change this to post, and that should resolve it. Let's see. Test one. Follow. I do get an error, and if I reload, it's not working. Okay. But why? Hmm. Let's try again. Hmm. Okay, so my button did change. Now let's take a look here. And so it is working. And if I hit on unfollow and reload, so it is working. I think it's working quite nicely now. And yeah, I mean, it really is working. So follow, and if I reload, follow by one, unfollow, and then I need to reload. Now, I do believe this area here is what we need to put inside of a use state. I guess similar to how we did um, the post um, the post feed. So let's make the use effect just handle this piece of text here. Let's take a look. Now, new post form. So that's going to be inside of this. Um, um, what do you call it? This whole thing here. This user profile. Ah, got it. So the reason that this is working, I guess, is because it's already inside of a use effect. So the reason why this reloads automatically is, I don't know, the follow button here, maybe because that's inside of this use effect. If we reload, everything seems to be working okay. We're not getting any errors on the server side either. Um, yeah. So really here, maybe we should just put in that um, mm, just type in the following variable file. So every time there's a change in the following situation, it'll reload that. So let's see, test one. And it works nicely. You see that? So that's working quite nicely. And all this is saying here is that anytime we change the status of whether the user is following the other one or not, it reloads. And what are we reloading? Um, I hope we're not reloading everything, that's for sure. Um, yeah, so I think that the code that we're looking at here, it is reloading all of these posts, which might be an issue in the future. We're gonna have to look into that later, but for now, I think it's probably okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking a lot here. Maybe I should have the top part here make an API call to one route, and then this second one over here could just make a regular API call to get my posts. So maybe I just have a route that all it does is get um, just gets posts, and then another route that all it's going to give me is the top three things here. So right now I'm returning it all together, but maybe there's a way, very simple here actually, to just add another use effect. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a minute, but fetch, um, let's just copy this, and that's what it does. Um, then, once we get a response, response.json, then data Yes. Yeah, so then once we get the data, we just set the details. Let me see the set following. User details. Yeah, so set details. It would be this. Set details data user details. Okay, and the user route returns, let's see, user post, user details, the follow button, and following. So these three. And then we'll have a second one that deals with all the posts. The dependency um, will be only for the first one here. Okay. Now, this could be a little bit better even. Like we could have it, we could just have a route that all it does is it serves posts, like a post engine. Um, that could be an option. I think that's what we're going to eventually do because we do have to implement here something called pagination further on, which is referring to only loading a number of posts at a time. So in order to do that, I think we just make a route that all it does is serve post, and it could take a few arguments. It could take inside of that request and that post request because we're sending a JSON. We can put in there like whose post we want, how many posts we want, etc. So for now, let's just reload here and see if it works. So test one, if I follow, you see it reloads over there. If I unfollow, it reloads everything. And really, technically now, I'm not, I'm not touching so much. I'm not re-rendering the posts in the front end. However, right now I am reloading them because my route returns all that data back. So maybe that's some room for optimize. There's some room there for optimization. Um, and so let's try it out. Let's just make a route that takes um, post requests, and all it does is serves post like a post engine. Works like magic. It's always amazing when you try so hard to do something and then it works. Okay, and so yeah, so let's let's implement the lower part here. So again, I just want to have one route, a new route, and I want to call it posts path. Let's call it something cool. Let's call it the post engine route. For now, it's not going to take any arguments, and use that post engine name. We haven't defined that yet over there, so it's complaining about it. Use that post engine, and the name will be post engine. Okay. So now that we have the URL, we want to go ahead and make that new route. And for now, we're going to exempt it. So CSRF exempt. We're going to define our post engine, takes in the request. And first thing we want to do is request equals if the request method is a post request, then we're going to implement our logic, else we want to redirect to the index page. Great. And I'm going to use this other fetch here as a template for a minute. So we have our user profile. Again, we want to have two use effects. And then I'm just going to, on the top here, no, on the top here, right, this template fetch I'm trying to use. And so, yeah, so the correct one is, so this fetch users da 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 da. And after this, we want to have like a new dictionary almost. And this is where we're going to put in here that our method is post and that our headers should have that. And this, okay, and then response.json, etc. So I think that is all we need for that. Take this out. Yeah. Okay, so our use effect here, and again, we're not reloading that, right? We're not reloading that. The only thing we're reloading is the top part, which is the set details follow button, set following. And, right, that's how that works. Okay. Okay, and so this use effect, what it does, it fetches from the post engine route. Okay, and yeah, and the method is post, etc. Um, JSON stringify something called post. Um, so we're trying to do something here. So we want to say something along the lines of um, requested user. Yeah, so our requested user will be um, props dot user2. There we go. Okay. And the logic will be very similar, I guess, to what we have up here. So I'm just going to just copy paste it and edit from there. Um, yeah, let's try this. And we want to put that here. Very nice. And I'm already going to start deleting from my users all of this post information. For post, in desire, data response. So this is all for, this all has to do with posts. So take that out. And also this, we're not interested. And when we return everything except for the user posts. Very nice. And we're trying to do all this unless we get an exception in which we are going to redirect to the index. And also if our request method is not get, which we could change that. We could definitely change that. I think we're running here just a regular get request. Fine, so this looks good. And now our post engine. So if our request method equals post, that's what we want. And we're going to try to get the current user. We don't need that anymore. Desired user is going to be okay. So here we need to have some logic to unwrap the JSON. If the JSON request. I think we have something similar over here to maybe up here. Let me see. Yeah, so it's something along the lines of this. And this is how we're going to get our user ID. JSON loads. Very nice. So that goes here. Request that body is not the correct one. We want request at maybe dot body dot requested user. Let's see here, 1 minute. When we make a new post, the text. Yeah, let me see if this is okay code. Let's check. Um, okay, come, handle, subscribe. Um, and take a okay, so it seems like it could be possible. So dot body dot requested user. So so the request dot body uses the raw HTTP body as a byte string to access request user field. You would first need to parse the entire body into a Python dictionary using JSON loads. After that, you can do da 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 da. Okay, so data is equal to JSON loads of request dot body and um, requested user is equal to um, data of requested user. Got it. Okay. And we'll rename that variable to user UID. Okay. The current user, I don't need to get that. Desired user and the post. That's what we want. So let's see, data, JSON loss request to the body. Got it. And it will have this whole data response here. Now the user details, we don't want that because we've already user UID, we already have that somewhere else. Let me see. Already sending that in the other route, or from the other route. User UID, that's okay. Yeah, so that's already being sent over there. I don't need to send that again. So we can get rid of it here. All this user detail stuff, get rid of it. And the following information also get rid of. Okay. And the is following also, we can just get rid of that. Okay. And my user details and all this other stuff we can get rid of. And all we are returning here is the user posts. Okay, so that seems to me like it's working good. And everything else will be okay. Let's see here. So if I go and test one, um, my follow and unfollow is working correctly. Why is the other one not? Let's see. My second use effect here. So we have my posts engine. The request is post. And let me see if I'm getting an error here. These are the worst errors because it's so it's such a general error here. It's so like not I need it doesn't give me any specific data of what I need to do. It just it just tells me your code's not working. No kidding. Now here we could see the um, here we can see um, the debugging not found. So I am getting a server side error. So maybe I have a maybe I have some type of um, typo here. Post engine. No, seems okay. Let's try again. Maybe I should redo my server here. Let's rerun it. New terminal. CD. Sometimes it doesn't work. So you try again. Python manage py server. Test one. Right, so the top part is working, but let's see. My post engine is not found. How could it be? Okay. Okay, so could the error here be um could the error be that I need to have I don't think this is the error, but could this be the error that I need to have that forward slash like that? Let's see. Yeah, I guess that was the error. That's a weird error to have, okay. But yeah, this is all working nicely now. So what we've done here, we've actually implemented a new post engine, which I think I wanna I don't know, maybe I'll do that in here as well when the time comes. But fine. So the idea is that yeah, so this is working very nicely. When we follow or unfollow, we're only calling this use effect on the top, um, and that is only giving us user data. Let's see, that only returns these three things, and our post engine is what's actually returning all of our posts. So every time we follow unfollow, we're not reloading the whole page. We're only reloading a tiny little bit of code here, maybe mainly these three lines here. And we could optimize even more, but it doesn't really make a difference. It wouldn't save that much if we were to optimize this one line here. So I think we can call this complete, follow, unfollow. If we log out and we log in, it's test one. We go into test two. Now we can follow, unfollow. And if we go on test one, we don't see that button. So we are looking great here. So that said, let's go ahead and take a look back at the specs. So clicking on the username should load that user's profile page. This page should display the number of followers the user has, as well as the number of people that the user follows. Display all the posts for that user. Okay, in reverse chronological order. And for any other user who has signed in, this page should also display a follow or unfollow button that will let the current user toggle whether or not they are following this user's posts. Note that this only applies to any other user. A user should not be able to follow themselves. Great, so we finished that. So let's go ahead and mark it as done. So that is done. Okay. Very nice. And the next thing is um, following. So this is the new thing we gotta do now. And you see, it looks like we're almost halfway done with this homework here, which is great. We've only been on this for 20 hours. Okay. Following in the navigation bar should take the user to a page where they see all posts made by users that the current user follows. This page should, okay. This page should behave just as the all posts page does, just with a more limited set of posts. And this page should only be available to users who are signed in. Okay. So that would be the following here. Okay, so let's go into this. I guess the idea is that um, if I'm following test two, I want to have a separate page where I see, and you know what, for this case, let's make a user three as well. So register user three. And so this test tree, let's say that he follows um yeah, so all the posts, and if I go hello world, okay, so test three himself, he's following two people, fine. So here, if I click on following, I should be able to see all of the posts of the users that I'm following in chronological order. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is create a new route. And we'll call that route conveniently following. So path, or you know what? Let's just declare the view first. So we're going to def following, and that takes in a request and pass, and then the new route path following, and that takes in views dot following, and name is equal to following. Okay, that looks good. And we probably want to have a new template as well. Um, maybe we'll see. But we'll leave it like that for now. So, what is in essence our following? Our following is we want to get all the posts. So we want to get all the posts for the users that we are following. So request um, request.user.id is where we want to get our follow objects. Follow objects dot filter where, and let's see how this would show up here. So if we cd into Python, not Python, but rather CS network, yeah, clear, get ourselves a shell from network models, import all. Okay, so our following would be equal to the follow objects that we can filter, where the follower equals our current, oh, so we have to get the current user first, 1 second. So our current user is equal to users.objects.get, where the primary key in this case is user3 we're trying to do. Okay, and now we want to write following is equal to follow in the objects dot filter. And what are we filtering by? Every instance where the follower equals the current user. Okay, let's see. Sorry, follower. And if we click on following here, we'll have we have two objects here. So I mean, he is following two people. And that would be step one. Okay. Okay, and so at this point, look, we're starting basically a whole new route, a whole new feature for this app. And we've already put in today our 2 hours of coding. So now it's time to take a break, and I'll see you in the next live stream. I do want to point out that I wish you all the best and just continue learning, continue creating your apps. We'll see you in the next one.